The ship was dying. Ji-Hoon knew it the moment the controls stopped responding to his commands. Smoke filled the cockpit, and warning lights flashed red across every screen. He gripped the steering column hard, trying to keep the nose up as the planet's gravity pulled him down. "Come on, you piece of junk," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Just a little further." The ground rushed up to meet him. He saw a city below, tall crystalline towers that glowed with strange purple light. Then he saw the wasteland beyond it, dark and empty. He pulled hard to the left, aiming for the wasteland. At least out there he might survive the crash. The impact threw him against his restraints. Metal screamed and tore. The ship bounced once, twice, then slid across the rocky ground in a shower of sparks. When it finally stopped, Ji-Hoon sat in the darkness, breathing hard. His ribs hurt, his head was bleeding, but he was alive. He unbuckled and kicked open the emergency hatch. The air outside was thick and heavy. This planet had stronger gravity than Earth. Every movement felt like he was carrying an extra person on his back. He stumbled away from the wreckage before it could explode. It didn't explode. Small miracles. Ji-Hoon looked around. The wasteland stretched in every direction, nothing but rocks and dust. In the distance, he could see the towers of the city, their purple glow reflecting off low clouds. He needed to find shelter. He needed medical supplies. He needed a way off this cursed planet. He started walking. Each step was harder than the last. The bleeding from his head wound was getting worse. His vision blurred at the edges. Just when he thought he might collapse, he saw it. A small metal door set into the side of a rock formation. It looked old and rusted, but it was there. Ji-Hoon pulled on the handle. The door opened with a groan. Stairs led down into darkness. He didn't have much choice. He went down. The stairs went deeper than he expected. At the bottom, he found a tunnel lit by dim emergency lights. He followed it until it opened into a larger space. This was a safe house, he realized. Someone had built this place to hide. "Don't move," a voice said from the shadows. Ji-Hoon froze. He saw a figure step into the light. A woman holding a makeshift weapon pointed at his chest. She had dark eyes and darker hair that fell past her shoulders. She wore simple clothes, patched and worn, but what caught his attention was her expression. She looked scared, but also determined. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Ji-Hoon said, raising his hands. "My ship crashed. I need help." The woman studied him for a long moment. Her eyes moved from his face to the blood running down his neck, then to the human-style uniform he wore. Something in her expression changed. "You're human," she said. It wasn't a question. "Last time I checked," Ji-Hoon replied. His legs felt weak. "Look, I'm about to pass out. Either shoot me or help me, but decide fast." The woman lowered her weapon. "Sit down before you fall down." Ji-Hoon sat on a nearby crate. The woman disappeared into another room and came back with a medical kit. She set it down and started cleaning the wound on his head. Her movements were gentle but efficient. "What's your name?" Ji-Hoon asked. "Nari," she said. "And you shouldn't be here. This planet isn't safe for humans." "Yeah, I figured that out when they shot down my ship." Ji-Hoon winced as she applied something that stung. "What about you? You look human to me." "Half," Nari said quietly. "My father was human. My mother was Viridian." Ji-Hoon looked at her more carefully. Now that she mentioned it, he could see the differences. Her eyes were a little too large, her fingers were a little too long, and her hair, in the dim light, seemed to have a faint shimmer to it. "The crystalline Imperium doesn't like mixing," Nari continued. "They killed my father for it. I've been hiding here for 3 years." "Sounds like a great place," Ji-Hoon said. "Real friendly." Nari almost smiled. Almost. "Why are you here? What brings a human ship to Viridian 7? "Wrong place, wrong time," Ji-Hoon said. "We were running from some pirates. Took a bad jump. ended up in this system. The Imperium ships didn't even ask questions. They just started shooting. That sounds like them, Nari said. She finished bandaging his head and sat back. You can rest here tonight, but you need to leave in the morning. If they find you, they'll find me too. Ji-hoon looked around the small safe house. The walls were bare metal. There was a sleeping mat in one corner, a small food storage unit in another. This woman had been living here alone for 3 years, hiding from a government that wanted her dead just for existing. Something twisted in his chest. Maybe it was the head injury. Maybe it was because he'd always hated bullies. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, like she'd forgotten what it was like to trust someone. What if I got rid of them? Ji-hoon said. Nari stared at him. What? The Imperium, Ji-hoon said. What if I kicked them off this planet? Would that be worth something to you? You're delirious, Nari said. You need to rest. I'm serious, Ji-hoon said. He knew he was being crazy. He knew it was impossible. But the words kept coming anyway. Fix me up, keep me alive, and I'll conquer this whole planet for you. He grinned despite the pain. Maybe for a kiss. He meant it as a joke. Something to make her smile, to take away the sadness in her eyes for just a moment. He didn't expect what happened next. Nari's hair lit up. It started at the roots and spread outward, a brilliant blue light that flickered like flames. Her eyes went wide with shock. She gasped and stumbled backward, her legs giving out beneath her. Ji-hoon caught her before she hit the ground. What's happening? He asked. Nari looked up at him, and her eyes were glowing the same blue as her hair. I don't know, she whispered. This hasn't happened since I was a child. The light around her hair danced and swirled. It wasn't hot, but Ji-hoon could feel the energy coming off it. Something powerful. Something that had been sleeping and was now waking up. Is it supposed to do that? Ji-hoon asked. No, Nari said. She was trembling. I learned to suppress it. I had to, or they'd sense me. But what you said, the way you said it. She touched her hair, and the blue flames flickered around her fingers. You awakened something. Above them, somewhere in the tunnels, an alarm started to sound, distant but getting closer. The sound of boots on metal. Voices shouting in a language Ji-hoon didn't understand. They felt it, Nari said. Her face went pale. The psychic flare, they're coming. Ji-hoon pulled her to her feet. His head still hurt, his ribs still ached, but suddenly that didn't matter. Then we run. Where's the exit? There are tunnels, Nari said, but they'll have every entrance covered by now. Then we fight, Ji-hoon said. Nari looked at him like he was insane. Her hair still glowed with blue fire, casting strange shadows on the walls. You said you'd conquer this planet? Did you mean it? Ji-hoon checked his weapon. It was damaged, but still functional. He looked at this woman with flames in her hair and fear in her eyes. He thought about his crew scattered across this planet. He thought about every other human trapped under the Imperium's rule. Yeah, he said. I meant it. The boots were getting closer. Nari's hair blazed brighter, responding to her emotions, and somewhere deep in the tunnels, the hunters were coming. The conquest was about to begin. They ran through the tunnels as the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. Nari's hair still glowed with blue fire, lighting their way through the darkness. Ji-hoon followed close behind her, his weapon ready, his wounded body protesting every step. This way, Nari said, taking a sharp turn into a narrower passage. These tunnels connect to the old mining networks. They go under the whole city. How many are chasing us? Ji-hoon asked. At least a dozen, Nari said. Maybe more. When a psychic flare that strong goes off, they send everyone. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber. Old mining equipment sat rusted and forgotten in the corners. Nari stopped and pressed her hand against the wall. The blue flames from her hair seemed to flow down her arm and into the stone. A hidden door slid open. How did you do that? Ji-hoon asked. Viridian technology responds to psychic energy, Nari said. I've been studying it. Come on. They went through the door, and Nari closed it behind them. For a moment, they stood in silence, listening. The sounds of the hunters passed by the chamber and continued deeper into the tunnels. They went the wrong way, Jehoon said. They're tracking psychic energy, Nari explained. I'm trying to keep mine contained, but it's hard. Whatever you did, whatever you said, it broke something open inside me. I can feel it trying to get out. Jehoon looked at her. The blue flames in her hair had dimmed but were still there, flickering softly. Is that a bad thing? I don't know, Nari said. She sat down on a piece of old equipment, suddenly looking tired. My mother tried to teach me how to use these powers when I was young, but after they killed my father, I locked everything away. I was so afraid they'd find me. But they found you anyway, Jehoon said gently. Yes, Nari whispered. They found me anyway. Jehoon sat down beside her. His head was still bleeding a little through the bandage. His ribs hurt with every breath. But somehow, sitting here in this dark tunnel with this strange woman, he felt more awake than he had in years. Tell me about your father, he said. Nari was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. He was a colony ship engineer. His ship crashed here 15 years ago. My mother found him in the wreckage. She was a scientist. Studying human technology, she was supposed to report him to the authorities. Nari smiled sadly. She fell in love with him instead. Forbidden romance, Jehoon said. Classic. It wasn't just forbidden, Nari said. It was considered contamination. The crystalline Imperium believes in purity. Mixing with humans is seen as corrupting their bloodline. She touched her hair, and the blue flames flickered. I'm living proof of that corruption. My father knew the risks, but he stayed. He said my mother was worth it. He said I was worth it. He sounds like a good man, Jehoon said. He was, Nari said. Right up until they dragged him into the street and executed him. They made my mother and me watch. They wanted us to understand the price of loving a human. Jehoon felt anger rise in his chest. How old were you? 12, Nari said. My mother died a year later. They said it was an accident in her laboratory. I know better. After that, I ran. I've been running ever since. They sat in silence for a while. Above them, they could hear the distant sounds of the city, life going on as normal while they hid in the darkness below. I need to contact my crew, Jehoon said finally. If I'm going to keep my promise, I'll need help. Nari looked at him. You were serious about that? About conquering the planet? Jehoon pulled out a small communication device from his pocket. It was damaged, but might still work. Yeah, I don't make promises I don't keep, especially not to pretty women with fire in their hair. Nari's cheeks colored slightly. The blue flames flickered brighter for just a moment. You're insane. Probably, Jehoon agreed. He worked on the communicator, trying to get it functioning. But I've done crazier things. Besides, you saw what happened when I made that promise. Your powers woke up. Maybe that means something. Or maybe it means I'm losing control, Nari said. Control is overrated, Jehoon said. The communicator crackled to life. He grinned. There we go. Now let's see if anyone's listening. He pressed the transmit button. This is Jehoon. Anyone out there? Static. Then a voice, faint but clear. Captain? Captain, is that you? Hyunwoo, Jehoon said, relief flooding through him. Where are you? We're scattered, Hyunwoo replied. After they shot us down, we ejected in escape pods. I'm in the southern district. Danby landed somewhere near the industrial sector. We haven't heard from the others. Start gathering everyone you can find, Jehoon said. We need to regroup. Captain, this place is crawling with Imperium soldiers, Hyunwoo said. They're hunting humans. They've got checkpoints everywhere. We can't move without being spotted. Then we don't move, Ji-Hoon said. We fight. I'm sending you coordinates to a safe location. Spread the word to any humans you find. We're done running. There was a pause. Captain, what are you planning? Something stupid, Ji-Hoon said. Something that'll probably get us all killed. But if it works, we take this planet back from these crystal-loving tyrants. Another pause. Then Hyunwoo laughed. It was a tired, desperate sound. Well, we're already stuck here. Might as well go out fighting. I'll start spreading the word. Good man, Ji-Hoon said. He gave Hyunwoo the coordinates to a larger section of the underground tunnels. Oh, and Hyunwoo? Tell everyone to expect something strange when they meet us. We've got a secret weapon. What kind of weapon? Hyunwoo asked. Ji-Hoon looked at Nari. Her hair was still glowing softly, blue flames dancing around her face. She looked scared and determined and powerful all at once. The kind that changes everything, Ji-Hoon said. He ended the transmission. Nari stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. You're really doing this. You're really going to try to fight them. We're going to do this, Ji-Hoon corrected. You and me, my crew, every human on this planet who's tired of being treated like dirt. There are millions of them, Nari said. Millions of crystalline Imperium soldiers. They have weapons we can't match. They have psychic powers that can crush minds. They have orbital defenses and warships. Yeah, Ji-Hoon said. But they don't have something we have. What's that? Nari asked. They don't have anything to lose, Ji-Hoon said. He walked over to her and looked into her eyes. The blue glow reflected in his own. We do. We have our freedom. We have our dignity. We have our lives. And sometimes, when you have something worth fighting for, you can do the impossible. Nari stared at him. Her hair flared brighter. You really believe that? I have to, Ji-Hoon said, because if I don't believe it, we're already dead. Something shifted in Nari's expression. The fear was still there, but something else was growing alongside it. Hope, determination, power. The Imperium's control comes from their psychic network, she said slowly. Every soldier, every official, every ship is connected to it. It's how they coordinate, how they control entire planets with so few actual rulers. And? Ji-Hoon asked. And my mother told me once that the network has a weakness, Nari said. Her eyes were distant, remembering. She said a psychic with the right frequency could disrupt it, maybe even shut it down. But it would take someone powerful, someone who understood both human and Viridian thought patterns. Someone like you, Ji-Hoon said. I've never even tried, Nari said. I've spent years hiding my powers, not using them. I wouldn't know where to start. Then we'll figure it out together, Ji-Hoon said. He held out his hand. What do you say? Want to help me conquer a planet? Nari looked at his hand. She looked at his face, bloody and battered but smiling. She looked at her own hands, wreathed in soft blue fire. She thought about her father, who died for loving someone different. She thought about her mother, who died for choosing love over rules. She thought about 12 years of hiding, of fear, of running. She took his hand. The moment their hands touched, the blue flames exploded outward. They filled the chamber with brilliant light. Nari gasped, and Ji-Hoon felt something flow through him. Energy, power, connection. What is this? Nari whispered. I think, Ji-Hoon said, watching the blue fire dance around them both. This is what happens when someone finally gives you a reason to stop hiding. Far above them, in the crystalline towers of the city, alarms began to sound again. The psychic flare was stronger this time, brighter, impossible to miss. The hunt was on. But this time, Nari wasn't running. 3 days had passed since the second flare. 3 days of running through tunnels, gathering survivors and planning something that everyone agreed was completely insane. Ji-Hoon stood in the largest underground chamber they'd found, looking at the faces around him. 53 humans, That was all they had. 53 people against an empire. Hyanwu stood beside him, looking over a makeshift map. "The Imperium has increased patrols by 300%, he said. "They know something's happening. They just don't know what." "Good," Ji-Hoon said. "Let them worry." Across the chamber, Danby was working with Nari. The engineer had managed to salvage equipment from the crashed ships and was building something with it. Nari sat in the center of a circular array of devices, her hair glowing softly as Danby took measurements. "How's it going?" Ji-Hoon called over. "The good news is that Nari's psychic signature is incredibly strong," Danby said, not looking up from her work. "The bad news is that it's so strong she could burn herself out if we're not careful. This amplifier will help focus her power without destroying her mind." "Will it work?" Ji-Hoon asked. "I have no idea," Danby said cheerfully. "I'm making this up as I go. But the theory is sound. Probably." A woman named Bora approached Ji-Hoon. She was older than most of the others, with scars on her arms and a hard look in her eyes. "I still think this is suicide," she said. "You've mentioned that," Ji-Hoon replied. "I used to work in the Imperial Palace," Bora continued. "I cleaned their floors for 8 years. I saw what they do to rebels." "It's not pretty." "Then why are you still here?" Ji-Hoon asked. Bora was quiet for a moment. "Because my daughter is still up there somewhere. They took her to work in the mines when she turned 16. I haven't seen her in 2 years. If there's even a chance your crazy plan works, I want to be part of it." Ji-Hoon put a hand on her shoulder. "We'll find her. When this is done, we'll find all of them." More people were arriving every hour. Word had spread through the human underground. Some came eager to fight. Others came desperate and scared. A few came just because they had nowhere else to go. Ji-Hoon greeted them all the same, with a grim smile and a promise that tomorrow would be different. Minho arrived in the afternoon. He was the leader of Haven's Rest, a hidden human settlement on the far side of the planet. He brought 20 more fighters with him, along with weapons and supplies. "You're either the bravest man I've ever met or the stupidest," Minho said when he met Ji-Hoon. "Why not both?" Ji-Hoon replied. Minho laughed, despite himself. "All right, crazy man. Show me what you've got." Ji-Hoon led him to where Nari was training. Over the past 3 days, she'd been learning to control her powers. Bora, who had some experience with Viridian psychics from her time in the palace, had been teaching her the basics. As they watched, Nari closed her eyes and concentrated. Her hair ignited with blue flames. The glow spread down her arms. She reached out toward a pile of stones, and they began to float. One by one, they lifted into the air, spinning slowly around her. "Incredible," Minho whispered. Then Nari's concentration broke. The stones fell. She gasped and slumped forward. Bora caught her before she hit the ground. "I can't hold it," Nari said, breathing hard. "It's too much. Every time I reach for more power, I feel like I'm going to disappear into it." "You're getting better," Bora said firmly. 3 days ago, you couldn't lift a pebble. Now you're moving boulders." "It's not enough," Nari said. "The Imperial Spire has thousands of psychics. I'll need to be stronger than all of them combined to break their network." Ji-Hoon knelt beside her. "Then we don't fight fair. We use strategy. We hit them where they're weak." "They don't have weak points," Nari said. "Everyone has weak points," Ji-Hoon replied. "We just have to find them." That night, they gathered everyone together. Ji-Hoon stood on a raised platform so everyone could see him. The blue glow from Nari's hair provided the only light. "I know what you're all thinking," Ji-Hoon said. "You're thinking this is impossible. You're thinking we can't win. You're thinking I'm an idiot for even trying." He paused. "You're probably right." Some nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. "But here's the thing," Ji-Hoon continued. "The Imperium thinks we're nothing. They think humans are weak. They think we're only good for serving them, working in their mines, cleaning their floors. They think we'll never fight back because we don't have their psychic powers or their crystal weapons or their warships." He pointed upward, toward the city above them. "They're wrong. You know how I know? Because we're still here. After everything they've done to us, all the people they've killed, all the families they've destroyed, we're still here. We're still fighting. We're still hoping. That's not weakness. That's strength." More people were nodding now. Jehoon saw determination replacing fear in their eyes. "In 2 days, we're going to attack the Imperial Spire," Jehoon said. "We're going to walk right into their center of power and tear down their network. It's going to be dangerous. Some of us won't make it back. But if we succeed, every human on this planet goes free. Every slave in their mines, every worker in their factories, every child taken from their parents, all of them free." "How?" someone called out. "How do we fight psychics?" "With our secret weapon," Jehoon said. He held out his hand, and Nari took it. She stood beside him, her hair blazing blue. "This is Nari. She's half Viridian, half human. Her powers are unique. She can disrupt their psychic network, but she can't do it alone. She needs us to get her to the heart of the spire. She needs us to protect her while she works. She needs us to believe this is possible." Nari spoke up, her voice soft but clear. "The Imperium killed my father for falling in love with my mother. They killed my mother for refusing to forget him. They've spent my whole life trying to make me believe that being half-human makes me less, makes me weak." Her hair flared brighter. "They're wrong. Being human doesn't make me weak. It makes me free." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jehoon squeezed Nari's hand and she squeezed back. Her hair cast dancing shadows on the tunnel walls, blue fire that seemed to promise hope. The next day was spent preparing. Hyunwoo worked out the tactical details. They would split into 3 groups. The first would create a distraction at the eastern gate. The second would hit the power stations in the western district. The third, led by Jehoon with Nari protected in the center, would go straight for the spire. "It's a terrible plan," Hyunwoo said. "You have a better one?" Jehoon asked. "No," Hyunwoo admitted. "That's what makes this so depressing." Danby finished the amplifier. It looked like a crown made of scavenged metal and wires. "Put this on when you're ready to connect to the network," she told Nari. "It'll help focus your power. But be careful. Once you start, you won't be able to stop until it's done. The feedback will be too strong." "How long will it take?" Nari asked. "No idea," Danby said. "Could be minutes, could be hours. You'll have to shut down each node in the network one by one. There are hundreds of them throughout the spire." "Then we'll hold the spire for however long it takes," Jehoon said. That night, the night before the attack, Nari found Jehoon sitting alone on the edge of the chamber. He was cleaning his weapon, his face thoughtful. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Too much to think about," Jehoon replied. He set down the weapon and looked at her. "You should rest. Tomorrow's going to be hard." "I know," Nari said. She sat beside him. Her hair glowed softly, a gentle blue light in the darkness. "Jehoon, what you said 3 days ago, about conquering the planet, did you really mean it?" "I thought we established that I meant it," Jehoon said. "No," Nari said. "I mean the other part, about the kiss." Jehoon was quiet for a moment. "Nari, I was half dead and running on adrenaline. I probably wasn't thinking straight." "So it was just a joke," Nari said. She looked down at her hands. "No," Jehoon said quickly. He turned to face her fully. "It wasn't a joke. When I said it, I meant it. I just didn't expect you to take me seriously, or for your hair to explode with magic fire, or for any of this to happen." Nari looked up at him. Her eyes reflected the blue glow from her hair. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Tomorrow, we might die. All of us. And I realize that I don't want to die without doing this." She leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft and hesitant, like she wasn't quite sure she was allowed to do it. Ji-hoon froze for a moment in surprise. Then he kissed her back. Her hair erupted in brilliant blue flames. They spread outward, filling the space around them with light and warmth. Ji-hoon felt that same surge of energy he'd felt before, that connection that seemed to flow between them. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Nari's hair blazed like a star. "Well," Ji-hoon said, "I guess I have to conquer this planet now. Can't let that kiss go to waste." Nari laughed, a real laugh that seemed to surprise her. "You're impossible." "That's what everyone keeps telling me," Ji-hoon said. He stood and pulled her to her feet. "Come on, let's get some rest. Tomorrow, we change everything." They walked back to the main chamber together, Nari's blue flames lighting their way. Tomorrow they would attack an empire. Tomorrow they might die. But tonight, for the first time in years, Nari felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The attack began at dawn. The first group, led by Minho, hit the eastern gate with everything they had. Explosions rocked the quiet morning. Alarms shrieked across the city. Imperium soldiers poured out of their barracks, rushing toward the disturbance. In the western district, the second group struck the power stations. The lights flickered and died across entire sectors. Backup generators kicked in, but the chaos was spreading. The crystalline Imperium, so used to perfect order and control, was suddenly fighting fires on multiple fronts. Ji-hoon's group moved through the tunnels beneath the spire. There were 30 of them, the best fighters they had. Hyunwoo led the front, weapons ready. Bora covered the rear, and in the middle, protected by everyone, walked Nari. Her hair blazed with blue fire, brighter than ever before. She wore Danby's crown device, and it hummed with barely contained energy. "The entrance is just ahead," Hyunwoo whispered. "Guards?" Ji-hoon peered around the corner. 6 Viridian soldiers stood at a hidden door. Their crystalline armor glowed with purple light. They looked alert but confused, clearly hearing the chaos above but unsure what to do. "Nari," Ji-hoon said quietly, "can you handle them?" Nari stepped forward. She raised her hands and the blue flame spread down her arms. Her eyes glowed. The air around her seemed to shimmer with heat and power. The guards saw her, and their eyes went wide. They started to raise their weapons. But Nari was faster. She thrust her hands forward, and a wave of psychic energy exploded outward. The guards flew backward like they'd been hit by a truck. They slammed into the walls and collapsed, unconscious. Their armor cracked, and the purple glow faded. "That was new?" Nari said, staring at her hands. "Nice work," Ji-hoon said. "Everyone move fast. We don't have much time." They burst through the door into the spire. Inside was nothing like the rough tunnels below. Everything was smooth, crystalline surfaces that glowed from within. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with psychic energy. Ji-hoon could feel it pressing against his mind, trying to read his thoughts. "Stay close to Nari," Bora said. "Her psychic field will protect us from casual scans." They moved quickly through the corridors. More guards appeared, and each time Nari dealt with them. Sometimes she knocked them out with psychic blasts. Sometimes she simply made them forget where they were, wandering off confused. Her power was growing stronger with each use. But Ji-hoon could see the cost. Sweat ran down her face. Her hands trembled. The blue flames in her hair flickered and wavered. "How much further?" he asked. "The central chamber is at the top," Nari said. Her voice was strained. "That's where the network core is. That's where I need to be." They fought their way upward. The spire had 100 levels, and they had to climb through most of them. More soldiers appeared. Some were Viridian. Others were humans who'd been conscripted into service, their minds enslaved by the psychic network. Ji-hoon hated fighting the human guards. He tried not to kill them when he could avoid it. They weren't the enemy. They were victims. On the 70th floor, they hit serious resistance. A full squad of elite Viridian warriors blocked their path. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They wore heavier armor and carried weapons that crackled with energy. And behind them stood a Viridian officer, his eyes glowing with psychic power. "Humans," the officer said with disgust. "You dare enter our sacred spire? You dare bring your filth into our halls?" "Yeah, we dare," Jehoon replied. "We're funny that way." The officer's eyes narrowed. Then they focused on Nari. "You, half-breed. You're the source of the disturbance. The Empress has been searching for you." "Tell her I'm coming to visit," Nari said. Her hair flared bright enough to hurt the eyes. The officer snarled and unleashed a psychic attack. Jehoon felt it like a hammer against his skull. He fell to his knees, unable to move. Around him, the others were collapsing too, clutching their heads. Only Nari remained standing. She held up one hand, and the psychic attack split around her like water around a rock. The blue flames spread outward, forming a protective barrier around her friends. "You're strong," the officer admitted, "but not strong enough." He pressed harder. The air itself seemed to scream with the force of his attack. Nari's barrier flickered. Blood ran from her nose, but she didn't fall. "You're right," she said through gritted teeth. "I'm not strong enough, not as a Viridian, not as a psychic warrior." The blue flames suddenly erupted, twice as bright as before. "But I'm not just Viridian. I'm human too, and humans don't give up." She screamed, and the blue fire exploded outward in a massive wave. The psychic attack shattered. The officer was thrown backward, the elite warriors scattered like leaves in a storm. When the light faded, Nari stood alone in the center of the corridor. Every Viridian lay unconscious around her. Her friends were picking themselves up, dazed but alive. "Nari," Jehoon said, rushing to her side. "Are you okay?" She swayed on her feet. "Just tired. We need to keep moving." They left the unconscious Viridians behind and continued upward. The resistance grew fiercer with each level. News of their assault had spread through the spire. The entire building was mobilizing against them. By the time they reached the 90th floor, they'd lost 8 people. Jehoon tried not to think about their names, their faces. He had to focus on the goal. They'd come too far to fail now. "The central chamber is just above us," Nari said. She was leaning heavily on Jehoon now. The crown device on her head was glowing so bright it was hard to look at. "But there's something else. Someone powerful. I can feel her." "The Empress?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes," Nari whispered. "She's waiting for us." They climbed the final stairs. At the top was a massive door made entirely of crystal. It was at least 20 feet tall and covered in glowing symbols. Nari touched it and the symbols flared. The door swung open. Beyond was the most beautiful room Jehoon had ever seen. It was circular and huge, with walls that seemed to be made of stars. In the center was a pillar of pure energy, reaching from floor to ceiling, the psychic network core. And standing before it was the Empress. She was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shift between solid and transparent. Her eyes were pure white, glowing with terrible power. She wore robes that flowed like water, and her presence filled the entire chamber. "Little half-breed," the Empress said. Her voice echoed from every direction at once. "You've caused so much trouble. Did you really think you could challenge me?" "I don't need to challenge you," Nari said. She stepped forward away from Jehoon. "I just need to break your toy." She pointed at the network core. The Empress laughed. It was a cold sound, empty of real humor. "Foolish child. I've ruled this planet for 3 centuries. I've crushed 1,000 rebellions. Your pathetic human emotions cannot overcome pure psychic power." "Maybe not," Nari said, "but maybe they don't have to." She placed the crown device on her head fully. It locked into place with a click. Her hair exploded into flames so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. The blue fire spread down her entire body, wrapping her in light. "Stop her!" the Empress shrieked. But it was too late. Nari reached out and touched the network core. The moment her fingers made contact, her consciousness expanded. Jehoon could see it happening. Her body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back. But her mind was elsewhere now, racing through the network at the speed of thought. The Empress screamed in rage. She unleashed the full force of her power at Nari. A wave of psychic energy so strong it cracked the crystalline walls. It was enough to destroy 1,000 minds at once. Jehoon threw himself forward. He crashed into Nari, wrapping his arms around her. The psychic attack hit him square in the back. Pain exploded through every nerve. He felt his mind starting to tear apart. But he held on. He kept himself between Nari and the Empress. "You stupid human!" the Empress snarled. "You cannot protect her! You are nothing!" "Wrong," Jehoon gasped. Blood ran from his eyes and nose. "I'm a human, and I made a promise." The Empress gathered her power for another attack. This one would kill them both, Jehoon knew. But if Nari could finish her work first, if she could break the network, it would be worth it. The blue flames around Nari grew brighter. Through the network, she was reaching every node, every connection. She could feel millions of enslaved minds crying out. She could feel the weight of the Empress's control crushing them all. And she could feel Jehoon dying to protect her. Something broke inside her, not in a bad way, in the way ice breaks when spring comes, in the way a dam breaks to let the river flow free. Every wall she'd built, every limitation she'd placed on herself, every fear that had held her back for 12 years, it all shattered at once. Her power exploded outward. It raced through the network like wildfire. Every node lit up, every connection burned bright, and in that moment, Nari was everywhere at once. She was in every mind on the planet. She was in every ship in orbit. She was the network. The Empress felt it, and for the first time in 3 centuries, she felt fear. "No," she whispered. "This is impossible." "Nothing's impossible," Nari said. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You just have to care enough." She pulled. Every connection, every node, every thread of the network. She gathered them all, and then, with a final surge of power, she tore them apart. The network shattered. Across the planet, millions of minds were suddenly free. The Empress screamed as her power base dissolved. Her form flickered, becoming transparent. She'd been alive for so long using the network to sustain herself. Without it, she was nothing. "You've killed me," she said. "You've destroyed everything." "No," Nari said. "I've freed everyone." The Empress faded to nothing. The light from the network core died, and in the sudden darkness, Nari collapsed. Jehoon caught her as they both fell to the floor. The spire began to shake. The spire was falling apart. Without the psychic energy holding it together, the crystalline structure began to crack. Chunks of ceiling crashed down around them. The floor tilted at a crazy angle. "We need to move," Hyunwoo shouted. "This whole place is coming down." Jehoon lifted Nari in his arms. She was unconscious but breathing. Her hair had stopped glowing, returning to normal black. But there was something different about her now. She looked peaceful, like a weight had been lifted. They ran for the stairs. The building shook with each step. Behind them, the central chamber collapsed entirely. They barely made it to the stairwell before the floor gave way. Going down was harder than going up had been. The stairs were breaking apart beneath their feet. Bora fell through a gap, and Minho barely caught her in time. They lost another 3 people to falling debris. But they kept moving. They had to. Outside, through the cracking walls, Jehoon could see the sun rising over the city. It looked different somehow. Cleaner. Brighter. They burst out of the spire onto the ground level. The plaza outside was filled with people. Viridians and humans, all standing together in confused groups. Some were crying, others were laughing, many just looked lost. These were the people who'd been connected to the network. For the first time in their lives, their minds were their own. They didn't know what to do with freedom. Ji-hoon's people helped guide them away from the collapsing spire. The great tower fell in on itself with a sound like breaking glass. When the dust cleared, only rubble remained. The symbol of the crystalline Imperium's power was gone. Minho organized the survivors while Ji-hoon carried Nari to a safe spot. He laid her down gently and checked her vital signs. Her pulse was weak but steady. She'd used so much power. He didn't know if she'd ever wake up. "Come on, Nari," he whispered. "You can't leave me now. I still owe you a conquered planet." Her eyes fluttered open. They were her normal dark brown again, no glow. She looked up at him and smiled weakly. "Did we win?" she asked. "Yeah," Ji-hoon said, relief flooding through him. "We won." She tried to sit up, but he gently pushed her back down. "Rest. You've done enough." "The people," Nari said. "The ones who were enslaved by the network. Are they okay?" "They're free," Ji-hoon said. "All of them. Across the whole planet. Maybe even across the whole sector. You broke the network completely." Nari closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "My father would be proud." "I'm sure he would," Ji-hoon said. The next few days were chaos. The crystalline Imperium's government had collapsed overnight. Their ships in orbit were confused and leaderless. Some tried to restore order. Others just fled. A few actually landed and asked to help with the rebuilding. Minho and the other resistance leaders formed a provisional government. They had a lot of work to do. There were food shortages to deal with, infrastructure to repair, millions of newly freed slaves who needed homes and help. But there was also hope. For the first time in centuries, humans and Viridians were working together as equals. The old prejudices were still there, but they were starting to fade. It would take time, but time was something they finally had. Ji-hoon spent most of those days helping coordinate the relief efforts. His crew had all survived, and they threw themselves into the work. Hyunwoo helped organize supply lines. Danby worked on getting the power grid back up. Even the fighters found new purpose in protecting the refugee camps. Nari recovered slowly. The strain of breaking the network had been immense. For the first week, she could barely stand, but gradually her strength returned. And with it, something else. Her powers had changed. She could still use them, but they were different now. Gentler, more controlled. The blue flames only appeared when she wanted them to, not in response to her emotions. She'd finally achieved balance between her human and Viridian sides. 3 weeks after the fall of the spire, Ji-hoon found her standing on a cliff overlooking the city. She was watching the sunset, her hair moving gently in the wind. No flames, just a woman enjoying a quiet moment. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "I was wondering when you'd find me," Nari said. "You've been avoiding me." "I've been busy," Ji-hoon said. But it was a weak excuse, and they both knew it. "You're leaving, aren't you?" Nari said. It wasn't a question. Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. "My ship is almost repaired. Danby says it'll be ready to fly in a few days." "Where will you go?" Nari asked. "There are other planets," Ji-hoon said. "Other places where the Imperium was in control. With the network gone, they're probably in chaos too. They'll need help." "They'll need heroes," Nari corrected. She turned to face him. "They'll need someone who knows how to conquer empires." Ji-hoon laughed. "I got lucky once. That doesn't make me a hero." "You made a promise and kept it," Nari said. "You said you'd conquer this planet, and you did. That makes you either a hero or a madman." "Why not both?" Ji-hoon said. They stood in silence for a while, watching the sun sink lower. The city below was starting to light up. Not with the cold purple glow of the Imperium, but with warm yellow lights. Human lights. Come with me, Jehun said suddenly. Nari looked at him in surprise. What? Come with me, Jehun repeated. There are 17 other planets in this sector. Maybe more beyond that. They all need what we did here. They need someone who understands both sides. Someone who can bridge the gap between humans and Viridians. That's insane, Nari said. Probably, Jehun agreed. But you said it yourself. Nothing's impossible if you care enough. Nari stared at him. You're serious. You actually want to go conquer 17 more planets. Not conquer, Jehun said. Liberate. There's a difference. A small one, Nari said, but she was smiling now. And what about payment? You already used up your kiss. Jehun stepped closer. Did I? I seem to remember promising to conquer a planet for a kiss, but we conquered this one together. I figure that means I still owe you. That's terrible logic, Nari said. I know, Jehun said, but I'm sticking with it. Nari looked out at the city one more time. She thought about her parents, who died for choosing love over rules. She thought about 12 years of hiding in darkness. She thought about the moment her powers had awakened, when a bleeding, half-dead human had promised her something impossible. All right, she said. I'll come with you, on one condition. Name it, Jehun said. We do this right, Nari said. No more rushing in without a plan, no more crazy last-minute heroics. We build a real crew. We gather resources. We do this smart. I can work with that, Jehun said. And one more thing, Nari said. She took his hand. Her hair flickered with blue flames, just for a moment. After we liberate all 17 planets, I want another kiss. Just one? Jehun asked. We'll see, Nari said. She pulled him close and kissed him. The sunset painted the sky in shades of red and gold. Below them, the city was coming back to life. Above them, the stars were starting to appear. Somewhere up there were 17 worlds waiting to be freed. It would be hard. It would be dangerous. Some days would be victories. Other days would be losses. But they'd face it together. A human who kept impossible promises, and a half-Viridian woman with fire in her hair. When they finally pulled apart, Nari rested her head on his shoulder. You know, when you first said you'd conquer a planet for a kiss, I thought you were crazy. I am crazy, Jehun said. I know, Nari said. That's what I like about you. They stood there until the sun fully set, and the stars came out in full force. Below, Hyun-woo was calling for Jehun. Something about supply manifests and repair schedules. The practical work of rebuilding a world. But that could wait a few more minutes. For now, Jehun and Nari just stood together, looking at the stars. Somewhere up there was their next adventure, their next impossible mission, their next chance to prove that humans could do more than survive. They could thrive, they could fight, they could love, and they could conquer. 3 months later, a ship lifted off from Viridian 7. It was a strange vessel, built from human and Viridian technology mixed together. On its hull was painted a name in bright blue, the Blue Flame. Inside were 50 crew members, humans and Viridians, working side by side. They'd heard the stories of what happened on Viridian 7. They wanted to be part of making it happen again. On the bridge stood Jehun and Nari. His hand was on the controls. Her hair glowed softly blue, sensing the path ahead. Hyun-woo called out coordinates. Danby monitored the engines. Bora had even joined them, having finally found her daughter in the mines and brought her aboard. Destination? Hyun-woo asked. Arcturus 5, Jehun said. I hear they've got a Viridian governor who needs an attitude adjustment. And after that? Nari asked. After that? Jehun grinned. We've got 16 more planets to visit, then maybe we can take a vacation. A vacation sounds nice, Nari said. Her hair flared bright. But first, let's go remind a few more tyrants what happens when you underestimate humans. And half humans, Jehoon added. And half humans, Nari agreed. The ship jumped to light speed, leaving Viridian 7 behind. The planet below was healing. Its people were free. And somewhere in the night sky, a man who'd promised to conquer a world for a kiss was keeping his word. 1 planet down, 16 to go. And after that? After that, there was an entire galaxy waiting. But that's another story. For now, it was enough to know that somewhere out there, a blue flame was burning. And wherever it went, freedom followed. That was the human way. That was what made them dangerous. That was what made them heroes. They never gave up. They never backed down. And they always kept their promises, even the crazy ones. Especially the crazy ones. The end of one story, the beginning of many more. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a woman's hair burned blue, lighting the way forward.